Hello and welcome to The Mohit Show. In this video, I'll be covering posts from r/detrans, a well-moderated subreddit for people questioning, desisting, or detransitioning. On to this video's first post, titled, The Loneliness of Detransition. This is from someone questioning their own gender identity. I tried to talk in a group with multiple trans people, some friends, about how I worry about transition and just want to let them know it's possible to end up like me. I was shut down so fast it broke my heart. I don't want anyone to suffer through the same trauma I did. What if they go further, lose parts of their body they'll later miss? I wish I could help, but I feel so isolated and like I have to accept this traumatizing ideology that's traumatized me. I tried to explain I used to say the same things they did to refute me, but how could I argue with someone who believes damaging their body is good for them? I cannot change their mind. Sorry if I'm seeming too preachy. That's the last thing I'd want. I just don't want people I care about regretting such a life-altering decision. I personally don't believe transition can be healthy for anyone, at least with the tampering with hormones, let alone how it can affect you mentally. I feel so alone in my experiences. All I can do is seem offensive for trying to express my worries or at least speak about my experience. Please just listen to me. I don't want to be silenced anymore. I'm tired of that from transition, and having the same people who were on me turn on me feels sickening. Edited a word for clarification. I made this post while quite emotional. I've thought it over a lot, but mostly I do still just feel lonely, as it felt easier to find support and confidence in transition versus detransition. From the comments, a desisted male individual comments, Welcome to not being in a cult. Slanted mouth face. A detrans male individual comments on the original post, At the end of the day, people have to make their own decisions, and very few people want to deal with someone telling them that the thing that is helping them is actually a super harmful mistake that they could regret in the future, whether based on the experience of the person saying it or not. It's not like most trans people don't hear that they're making a terrible, sinful, idiotic mistake frequently enough, so it makes sense for people to be defensive and have little room for hearing it out again and again, and justifying themselves to someone convinced that transition is inherently harmful. In the end, you're just going to have to trust that other people know what they're doing as well as you do, or at least they're capable of dealing with their own lives and the consequences of their actions. A detrans male individual comments on the original post, Hang out with people who are more conservative leaning. You'd be surprised at how accepting they are. Now on to the next post, titled, Not Getting Better Mentally Because of Ugly Physical Reality. This is by a detrans female individual. I've been detransitioning for a while. Stopped testosterone 1 year, 8 months ago. Changed my documents back. I was always ugly and too masculine physically, but at the same time ridiculously gender conforming in terms of personality, preferences, and interests. There was a mismatch between my personality and my look, so I basically was dysphoric in a way a trans woman would be dysphoric instead of having a classic female to male experience. I transitioned to avoid being a huge masculine woman. When I decided to purposefully pretend to be a guy, I was finally normal. Ironically, not too tall, not too masculine, not too huge anymore, and also finally looked my age. At some point even younger, which I love the most, unlike a lot of trans guys. Strangers stopped commenting on my looks, finally. I finally became invisible after years of being a freak whose ugliness drew attention to the point where my entire life and my developing personality and my mental health were ruined. It started when I was 11, with puberty, and stopped only when I hid in a man costume. But it was too late, and it was a delusion anyway, not a real solution. I wasn't trans. I never actually identified as a man. I used to think, I'm a woman who wants to mimic a guy. Of course I understand I'm not a man. I didn't even want hormones and surgeries until I thought I had to grow up and have a normal life. I didn't let myself use he, him pronouns. In my language, verbs are gendered, but I found a way to speak without gendering myself near most people because of how uncomfortable it was. It wasn't me, it was my costume to hide in. I used it to escape myself. Later, as an adult, I felt like I didn't have a real choice, so I decided to transition medically. My options were living as a relatively normal-looking man or an extremely ugly, weird, awkward, wrong woman. I chose the first option because the second one would make me kill myself. That was the entire point of escaping myself. I couldn't handle living like that lonely, ugly freak. And now I'm back to it after years of transitioning and just being in this weird situation that stopped me from living normally, developing my personality, and learning normal life things, connecting to people. I lost my time. I didn't go to university because at first I needed to become a normal person. I didn't communicate with anyone. I didn't let myself live at all. I don't have opportunities anymore and it's too late. I aged a lot. I'm just a stupid, ugly, balding old man whose life stopped when he was an 11-year-old girl. An old man with female documents. And I'm more suicidal than I've ever been. I refuse to live like this. I couldn't mention the other stuff that led me to transition because it's already too much. But of course, what I described isn't the only problem. It's just a big one that stops me from recovering now and makes it impossible to have a normal life. A detrans female individual comments on the post. Some people were born with deformities or have bad scarring from accidents or whatever. Maybe you should watch some medical documentaries about people with abnormal bodies. You don't have to be beautiful or even average to have a fulfilling life. You don't have to be like most other people to find connection with others. Ugly and weird people can still get married and have kids if they want to, or have a whole bunch of friends. I don't think it's helpful to imagine that your life stopped at age 11. You're on a journey, and it's okay to make mistakes, struggle, and go through periods of despair. You aren't failing if you find life challenging. Stop obsessing over your appearance. Develop other interests. Talk to other people who have those same interests. The original poster replies to that. Thank you for your comment and opinion. Of course, I know about people with deformed bodies. It's a different problem. I wish it worked like this and I could just stop obsessing. I wish it was just in my head so I could work on that. I don't just imagine that my life stopped. It happened. And I describe what happened. I had some interests, and I lost even that because it's impossible to be interested in anything when all you can think about is suicide. Interests are not enough anyway. It's also impossible to build a deeper connection because when you're suicidal and your mental state is terrible, you can't offer anything good to people. It's hard to be supportive and spend your own resources that are not enough even for you to survive on someone else. I'm just a burden for everyone in this way. It's hard to keep faking normalcy that's required to have any meaningful connection when I'm on the verge of suicide. The solution isn't just do it. Communication. In order to just do it. I need to feel something like okay at least. And it's impossible because of my life experience. It's much more complicated than stop doing that, just do this. An easy solution for a simple problem. I wish I could just do this and that instead of having to kill myself and be alone in mental agony for years before that. I don't enjoy it. I'm not just obsessing. I'm not deformed in a way that you mean, but I'm definitely noticeably abnormal. It's very easy to learn when strangers in different circumstances tell you about it in different stages of your life. It's not just in my head. Someone who questioned a while but didn't end up transitioning comments on the original post. I have the same problem. I'm born female, but my body is not feminine at all. I've always hated girl clothing because none of it ever fit my body right. I'm too boxy, no butt, no boobs, but giant thighs and hips. People always think I'm a 13-year-old boy on the phone. People don't know I'm a grown woman. At this point, I don't care. Here are my affirmations. My body is not me. I am inside my body. My body is simply a flesh suit to get me through 3D existence. If someone judges my body and not me, I don't want them in my life, nor do I need them. I know it's on them for being judgmental. I don't have the energy for people like that. Everything I am is not external. It is inside of me. On to the next post, titled, Female to Male to Female After 10 Years. This is by a detrans female individual. I'm 29 and female, living about half my life as male. I went through severe mental, sexual, and physical abuse in my childhood, resulting in a lot of self-hatred. In my childhood, I was often mistaken as a boy, what felt comfortable, and I found puberty and becoming a woman really difficult. I tried being female, lived a wild non-binary, and finally started socially transitioning at 19. I felt better and enjoyed the changes. I think it also helped to keep my mind away from trauma, because the transition took so much space. When I was 23, I felt a deep depression. I started forgetting my hormones, eventually stopped, and I grew my hair. I loved my looks. I think I was detransitioning, but I didn't realize myself. Nobody questioned me either. The depression didn't leave, and at 25 I got confused for a female too often, so I restarted hormones and cut my hair. I had some more depressed years when I was 27. And when I was 27, I tripped on LSD, and it just hit me then that my transition was a mistake. It gave me doubt, but being sober I couldn't find a reason why it was a mistake. Over time I found more reasons, but I kept feeling like I was male. I found mental help when I was almost 28 and worked through my traumas. At the same time, I've been working on finding my identity. So, the impossible happened. I found peace in the past and became a someone. This seemed fun at first, but it's like a different part of my soul woke up. I felt so feminine. What felt so natural and so stressful at the same time, because I felt like I had to learn being male again. So this goes on for a couple of months, and it came to the point that at this point, I even feel like I have a breast and a vagina, even though I don't have them anymore. But I feel like they're there. I have a young woman's self-image, and the mirror scares me. I also don't identify with my name anymore. For me, it feels like my soul swapped places at age 5, and we swapped back at 28. I really tried to make it leave, so I don't have to transition back. Not that I don't want to transition back, but I'm really scared for the outcome. I'm a freak. I'm disgusted with myself. But I just can't keep living male. Neither do I think I'll ever look or behave female again. I'm so scared for every following second. From the comments, a detrans male individual comments, "It's so crazy that LSD was the catalyst of your realization. I think psychedelic therapy could be so beneficial to our community." A detrans female individual comments on the original post, "You're not a freak. There's so many of us in similar situations on this group page. You're not alone at all. I know it's really hard. I'm currently just beginning the detransition. I've only been off tea for a couple of months. Just taking it one step at a time has been really helpful to me. But everyone copes differently. Just know you're not alone and you will get through this. Messages are always open if you ever want to talk." Next post, titled, "Still experiencing testosterone side effects nearly 3 years after detransitioning." This is from a detrans female individual. "The first year of detransitioning was hell, but then those things seemed to normalize. I thought I was out of the woods. Now all of a sudden, all those old symptoms have returned. It feels like I'm taking testosterone again. I've got issues with my stomach, concentration, energy, body dysmorphia, and even priapism. Those last two symptoms are awful alone, even worse combined. My period is due soon, and a woman's testosterone levels are highest around this time. That's all I can think it might be. This just goes to show how little doctors understand what they're prescribing to their patients. I guess I'm looking at a lifetime of inexplicable problems like this." Now to the next post, titled, "Something being a social construct doesn't mean you can hold on to the same structure and just want it to perceive you differently." This is by a detrans female individual. "You want to act by the same measures of the system that you claim to want to expose? Sure, LMAO. It makes it so twisted and complicated to even explain anything about what a man/woman, masculine/feminine, or anything related to gender is, LOL. Age is a social construct too, but that doesn't mean I go around advocating for 30-year-olds to identify as 5 years old. That just doesn't make sense. And yeah, you're 30 and can act like whatever you want, but that doesn't mean I'll be supporting you claiming to be 5. That'll just cause friction everywhere because it's just a marker our society has come to use to make things efficient. Capitalism, colonialism, free yourself, yes, but do it without clinging onto new rigid parameters. That's why some branches of the trans ideology seem like a replacement for religious identity. From the comments, a desisted female individual comments, "The whole claim of gender identity is an entirely religious one. It's impossible for any lifelong identity to be completely independent of physical reality. Identity just doesn't work that way." And trans activists put an incredible amount of effort into hiding any and all evidence that refutes this claim, like the fact that plenty of detransitioners and desisters did have genuine dysphoria, indistinguishable from any currently trans person, but change their minds later. This is the part that solidifies it as a religion. And a desisted individual comments on the original post, "It's laughable when they say stuff like gender is fake, and then it turns out they're extremely invested in making everyone perceive them as the gender they actually claim to be. Like, which one is it? Get some real convictions." On to the next post, titled, "Female to male to female. I thought I was trans, and I feel like I messed up so much." This is by a detrans female individual. "At first I thought I was trans when I was 11, which is incredibly young, I know. I was just an insecure girl going through puberty who got onto the wrong side of the internet and convinced herself she was trans. I'm starting high school next year, I'm 14 now, and I feel like I've messed up so much. I didn't actually come out to many people, only 4 friends, no family, but I still ruined a lot of stuff. I put a ton of stress on my parents because I literally looked like a boy for most of middle school, refused to wear feminine clothing from grades 5 to 8, and cut my hair in 7th grade. And it upset my mom and dad because people would always mistake me for a boy, and I was incredibly difficult/picky with anything clothing related. I'm also just really ugly now. I was a really pretty girl back when I had long hair and didn't dress in fully masculine clothes. Now I have short hair which would take years to grow out, an awful wardrobe, only baggy boyish clothes, and a masculine room that I hate. I don't know what to do or how to fix this." From the comments, a detrans female individual comments, "You are so lucky that you didn't take puberty blockers or testosterone. Some girls your age have even had top surgery. Take a moment to feel relieved you're not one of the kids who were allowed to medically transition. It won't take long for your hair to grow back or for you to buy new clothes or stuff for your room. Lots of girls are less confident at age 14 than they were at age 11. Studies show it happens to many girls. It's normal to struggle with insecurities once puberty starts. Even if you hadn't had a trans phase, you might still feel just as unsatisfied about your appearance. Don't blame yourself. You were going to experience angst even if you had never heard about trans stuff. And it's difficult to resist the influence of trans stuff these days because it's everywhere. You were too young to know better. It's not your fault. Your parents will forgive you for the stress caused by a trans phase. Lots of kids do things that cause their parents to worry or embarrassment. It's normal. When you're older, you might even look back and laugh about it." A detrans female individual comments on the original post, "Take a deep breath. You're so young. You got this. Luckily, you haven't gone too far yet. It sounds like you've only gone through social transition. This is easily fixable. Talking to everyone will be difficult, but not impossible. Family therapy may help, honestly. People make mistakes. Try not to worry too much about what everyone else thinks. This is about you. Look up something called the sunk cost fallacy. It means you commit to something and keep forging on even when you know it's wrong because you feel like you've gone too far. An example would be staying in a marriage you've been in for 20 years even though you hate the person because you're like, well, what's another 20 years? Don't think of your life this way. You can always change your path at any time. People imprison themselves in their own minds. Just remember that. You have agency. You have choice. The hardest part is realizing your feelings, and for a young person it's impressive that you've acknowledged some pretty hard stuff. Many years from now, we'll see many people who've had a trans phase. This is quite common, actually. Gender and sexuality can be fluid and changing. Humans in general are always evolving. You are an ever-growing project, and that's okay. Lean into that. Remember, there are people on here who have fully transitioned. I'm talking bottom surgery and everything. And they still find a way to meaningfully detransition. There are some people on here who have lived a different gender for 20 plus years. I was on testosterone for 7 years, had top surgery, and lived as a man for 12 years, and I am detransitioning. In fact, I came out when I was your age, 14. But I didn't stop. I started at 14 and continued to forge on the wrong path, and now I'm trying to undo that damage and hurt I caused myself. There are things I regret and things I don't. I try to lean into what I told you about always being a project. I feel very nuanced feelings about my detransition. I made a great guy, and I had a lot of beautiful memories as him. Hopefully, you can view that part of your life with some fondness, but it'll probably be complicated feelings. Just try to realize life isn't linear. You're going to be many different people throughout the course of your life. Learn to love that about human life while you're still young, because things never stop changing. It's never too late, and you're so young, and undoing social transition is way easier than medical. Have the hard conversations. It'll be worth it. Now on to the next post, titled, Social Norms and Surgery. This is from someone questioning their own gender identity. Ways I talk through it. If gender and sex are not two in the same, why are they called gender-affirming surgeries? Why puberty blockers? All these imply biological changes, not socially constructed ideas/norms. You can undergo surgery to appear a certain way, back to the initial biological appearance of a certain sex. It's not a social idea. Meds/blockers block biological appearances of female/male biological characteristics. It's down to science. Next post, titled, Gender Dysphoria or Sex Dysphoria. This is by a detrans male individual. Gender and sex are obviously not the same thing. But still, I have never heard of sex dysphoria, only gender dysphoria. I think a lot of things that are now called gender dysphoria are in fact sex dysphoria. For example, if someone has issues with their role in society, how people look at them or treat them, that is pure gender dysphoria. But if someone has issues with how they look in the mirror or how they feel in their body when they're alone, I guess you could call that sex dysphoria. Of course, the two often combine and reinforce one another, but not always. And even when they do, one of them might be primary. I think one advantage of separating them could be that the treatment could be better adjusted to the actual problem someone has. For example, I guess medical transition generally would be more suitable if someone has sex dysphoria. What do you think? On to the next post, titled, I'm so tired of everything. This is by a detrans female individual. I just want to say how deeply depressed I am at the moment. I'm passing socially as a woman quite easily. However, I'm still very much afraid I won't be able to find anyone to love me, to love my boobless butch body. I got recently dumped. The reason was not my detransition, and it just makes my intrusive and self-harm thoughts stronger. I'm even considering requesting euthanasia, even though it's illegal in my country. I'm just so tired and frustrated with everything. I feel like none of my wishes I had for this life have come true. My 20s were ruined by trauma, and what I thought back then would help transitioning. Now I'm closer to my 40s, and I feel like everything is still stuck, like there's no hope for me. I'm seeing a psychotherapist, and I have prescriptions for several medications, but I don't think I can hold on much longer. Next post, titled, Is it possible to regain lung capacity after quitting binding? This is by a detrans female individual. Hey y'all, I'm 15 female, and I'm in desperate need of help. From ages 14 to 18, I went through a bit of an identity crisis thinking I was trans, and used layered sports bras to bind for that period of time. I never outright injured myself with binding, however I noticed my lung capacity has decreased a bit. I can never take a full yawn or deep breath anymore, and it's really been on my mind and upsetting me lately. It hasn't really bothered me much, except for when it's night and I have a urge to yawn, and I can't. I quit binding about 10 months ago, and all the other mild discomfort I experienced has vanished. However, I still haven't got my full lung capacity back. I was wondering if anyone else who has gone through the same thing could give me advice. Will I ever regain my full lung capacity? Is there anything I can personally do to regain it? What are y'all's experiences with this issue? Any advice or even just support will be greatly appreciated. I don't have anyone I can talk to about this in real life, and it would mean a lot if anyone could help me here. Next post, titled, Probably just transition because no one told me being a woman is anything more than its stereotypes, lol. This is from someone questioning their own gender identity. Just the title. I spent so long of my childhood leaning masculine just to prove that women/girls are more than just dolls and that kind of stuff to my parents. But now I just cannot divorce the idea of women and the stereotype of women when applied to myself. I lost that fight. Sorry, ladies. Kind of sucks. Probably won't be detransitioning anytime soon because every time someone identifies me as she/her, I immediately think that they see me as a degrading stereotype. Then the dysphoria of they see me as something I'm not comes. I don't regret the transition itself though. Shit just feels tragic. I'm attempting to use he/she right now. Maybe I can heal. Also, every time I try to identify as something, I just want to fight its stereotype, Alamejo. I want to be a femboy when he/himming, and want to be a tomboy when she/herring. Annoying as fuck. Hate that the definitions of the genders are so ingrained into me, as much as I hate it. Now on to the next post, titled, I don't remember my transition. This is from someone questioning their own gender identity. I don't remember realizing that I was transgender. I don't remember telling my parents. I don't remember being diagnosed with gender dysphoria. I don't remember getting my testosterone referral. All I know is that it happened and I'm here now. And it feels so scary not being able to remember any of it and not know why. Was the dysphoria there from the beginning? Or did it develop as I continued to transition? I'll never fucking know. I feel so angry with myself that I can't remember. It feels so important. Now from the comments, someone who's questioning their own gender identity comments, PTSD causes such memory holes. You were running to survive. The original poster replies to that, I feel like there's a lot of trauma I chose to repress throughout my transition. I was also forcibly medicated most of my life for other reasons, and I feel like this may have caused a lot of brain fog/damage. Someone who's questioning their own gender identity replies to that, You're not alone in that. It's obvious many have transitioned, not because they desire to be another sex, but to simply flee from their own and hide in another. Something which should never be facilitated. Being forced medications and brain fog suggests you might have several deep-rooted psychological issues and are a vulnerable person. I do hope you're currently aware of your circumstances and getting the help and protection you need to grow. Hugs. A detrans female individual comments on the original post, I feel like I was another person. I don't remember so many things either, and now that memories are coming back in pieces, and each one of them is traumatic. A detrans female individual comments on the original post, Since testosterone causes mania in women, you're essentially high while on it, and while off of it, when you're down to normal, you won't remember what happened while high. You're on a totally different plane, in a different mindset. On to the next post, titled, Can't Stop Regretting Double Mastectomy. This is by a detrans female individual. I'm 27, female to male to female. I transitioned when I was 20 and was on hormones for about 3 years. I had top surgery 2 years into it, and then stopped taking testosterone because I couldn't do it consistently and it made me an emotional wreck. So I've been off hormones for quite a while. I'm for the most part fine with how I look. I'm mostly back to normal with other than extra hair on my stomach and some on my chest, and facial hair that I have an at-home laser for when that's really helping. At-home laser for that's really helping. But the thing I struggled the most with, especially lately, is my regret for getting top surgery. I'll be honest, I didn't have a great pair of tits to begin with. Kinda saggy DDs. So I don't necessarily want those back, but I would give fucking anything just to have a smaller chest. Like a B cup would be so perfect. I dream about having just gotten a reduction. I dress really femininely now. And it's a reminder every time I buy a dress or a top, I think to myself, will this look weird on me because I have zero chest? and it's really bringing me down. I've started looking into chest reconstruction surgery a little bit, but honestly, I don't have that kind of money. How have others dealt with this? Are there any remedies I might not know about? How do you cope? Thank you so much. Heart. On to the next post, titled, Rejected for My Past. This is by a detrans female individual. Yesterday, I finally told the guy I've been seeing for a month and a half about my past. For context, we'd known each other for almost a year, went to class together every day. I told him that I used to be quite mentally unwell and ended up taking a path that wasn't right for me, leading to hormones and top surgery. I additionally told him that I'd had breast reconstruction, but that I was insecure about my scars and would be keeping my bra on if we ever did anything. It was like watching a switch flip. I could tell he lost interest immediately. He wasn't able to tell me he liked me or compliment me, or even hold my hand or let me know when I got home safe. Today, I asked him to confirm, and he said, I never thought about cutting you off until last night. I don't see us being together long term. Rejection will always hurt a little, but it hurts so much more to be rejected due to your absolute biggest insecurity. I can't believe I have to live like this. I can't believe this is my real life. It's hard enough for me to accept myself, but how the hell am I supposed to accept myself when people in my life confirm that yes, I should in fact be insecure about my past and my body. I was just a stupid kid. Now to the last post, titled, Everything feels really shitty right now. This is by a detrans female individual. Since 2016, I've identified as a trans guy. Picked a new name, dressed more masculine, all that. And it was nice. For a while, I was really comfortable, and being masculine and being seen as a boy/young man felt really good. I never took any hormones, though. But for the past 2 years or so, I've been questioning myself a lot, and started exploring makeup again, started dressing more feminine, and right now I'm pretty certain that I feel more comfortable as a girl/woman. There was a time when I was fully comfortable being a trans guy, but that just isn't the right way for me anymore. I still like the nickname my friends gave me, but my former chosen name just doesn't feel right anymore. I think part of why I didn't realize sooner was because I didn't allow myself to experiment more with gender presentation when I was still at school, because I was afraid people wouldn't respect me anymore. So now I just told some of my cis friends that I want to be called my birth name again, and they didn't take it well. They were all like, oh, first we had to get used to calling you chosen name, and now it's back to birth name. And I just replied, oh, sorry that it took me time to figure out my gender. I'm so terribly sorry to inconvenience you with that. One of them even said that he's not sure if he wants to support other trans people, because what if they decide to change their gender again, just like you? And in a way, I don't want to disappoint my friends, because I've put a lot of effort into being called my chosen name and being seen as a guy, and they helped me, and now it was basically all for nothing, as they see it. Again, it's important to me to state that it's only my cis friends that see it that way. My trans/non-binary friends are pretty chill about it. And they think it's only because of the guy I'm seeing. But seriously, is it a bad thing that being with him helped me discover that I like being a woman? That I liked it when he touches me? That I feel comfortable with him? That I like thinking about being called his girlfriend? Detransitioning isn't a bad thing. I just realized that being a guy isn't the right way for me. That isn't bad, right? Exploring gender isn't a bad thing. Me realizing that I'm not actually trans doesn't harm any other trans person. The trans people that I've known for years have always been so supportive of all the gender-related struggles I've had. I've never wanted to make their lives harder. From the comments, a detrans female individual comments, from a gender non-conforming lesbian perspective, it looks like internalized misogyny that you only consider yourself comfortable with womanhood after experimenting with femininity. But your friends are assholes. They're likely only saying those things due to the current transgender political climate. If you don't have their care and support, they aren't your real friends. A detrans female individual comments on the original post, nope, not at all. Falling in love with a man and understanding myself in relation to men and my sexuality also helped me realize I like being a woman. But I still had the desire to be a woman again prior to even meeting this dude or caring about men. You sound like you were in a similar state to me. It's only bad if you did it for him, and none of it for yourself. But that doesn't sound like the case. Also, your cis friends who have an issue with you asking to go by your birth name sound whiny. Firstly, your experience isn't reflective of all trans experiences. Secondly, it's a cool name. When I told my friends I wanted to go by my birth name again, they said, okay, cool. Might mess up, but no, I'm trying. No complaining. None of that, wow, this might color my view of trans people. It's not about trans people. It's about you and your journey beyond trans discourse. Don't apologize for requesting people to call you by your birth name again. It really isn't a big deal. This all-for-nothing stuff is a weird way of viewing friendship. Anyone who cares deeply about you will try to understand you and meet you halfway. And if they struggle with the name change, it should be as simple as communicating that the change will take time. I'm sure they're fine people, but the way you describe how they view the situation annoys me. Also, it's not your job to be a representation of transness. You aren't disappointing anyone by detransitioning. And anyone who does think your detransition is disappointing sounds entitled and not worth your time. A detrans female individual comments, yeah, some people just get really weird about the topic of detransition, unfortunately. My cis friends have actually been fine about it, but my trans friend has a hard time knowing what to make of it. I think it's harder for people, too, because there's a general script for how to be supportive to a trans person, but no one knows how to act about a detrans person, even assuming they mean well, which in your case it sounds like your friends are just being assholes. It says more about them than it does about you, though. Being detrans is a good thing to be. I also definitely relate to how being in a relationship helped you figure things out. I think that's pretty common and not a bad thing at all. And that brings us to the end of this video. Thank you so much for watching, and please like, comment, or subscribe if you want to support this content. Thank you so much, and see you next time.